Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Forbidden Land podcast. This is a bit of a random, impromptu episode. I wanted to talk about some upcoming news and events that will be coming up. For me, not news and events happening in the real world. Shit that's only happening to me. In my narcissistic ways. So, I have a little story to tell, as well as an announcement that I am moving. That's right, I'm moving to a apartment, and all the stuff you see behind me is gonna go into boxes. And you know when you like schedule a haircut, and like the day you're going to get the haircut, right? Your hair just looks perfect. Like the day you're going to get the haircut that you scheduled, your hair just looks great. Everything that you hated about your haircut goes away, and your hair's just looking the best it's ever looked. And now you're like pissed because you're about to go fucking like chop it all off. That's how I feel. The last episode looked great. Episode 167. That episode looked great. It was lit well. The background looked perfect. My hair looked good. Granted, I wish I had shaved before that episode, but everything fell into line. And excuse me. I feel like it is kind of sad that that's basically like the last episode that I can really do that on. I actually do have a lot of regrets about my last setup. See, now I'm in my old house. Because I didn't get like a good screenshot of this setup. This setup is plagued by the fact that you can still see my mic and my chair in the background. But with this one, I did get a good photo of it. Like right before, really just revealed the background. I did get like a good photo of it right before I switched everything up. Yeah, and here's a photo of my old office after everything was out of it, and the house flippers bought the house and flipped the house. So yeah, this is gonna be a story about how I got to the place I'm in now. I hate that it's like hair doming me, pretty much. It's gonna be a story about how I got to where I am now. Why I'm in this garage as I seemingly am. You can see it. Garage door, shelving, like right in front of the fucking garage door. I've had episodes where the garage door has been opened in the middle of me talking. I've had live streams where the garage door has been opened while I'm talking. But yeah, there's a long story as to why I'm even in this place that I'm in right now. But hopefully, soon, probably within a month, I will be in a better, more comfortable living situation of my own choice, if that makes sense. And I want to tell the story about that. I held off last year because I wanted to cool off about it, if that makes sense. I wanted to be more calm about it, have a more level head while talking about it. I feel like I can't take it seriously that I'm on this background with a floating microphone. But yeah, so there you go. This is the real room behind me. Everything's in boxes. I dismantled pretty much everything around me other than my setup. My desk is still here. I'm going to probably be packing my desk within the next couple weeks. But let me just start with my old house. So, when I was about 11 years old, no, about 10. We were living in an apartment, and at the time they jacked the rates up on our apartment. And my parents were like, you know what? If we're gonna be paying this much for an apartment, you know, why don't we just go and find a house? And pay. Yeah, we'll probably be paying a little extra. But why would we pay this much for an apartment? Let's go get a house to rent. So, I spent a lot of 5th grade coming home from school, getting in the car, and then we would go and tour houses. I remember pretty much every house so vividly. Like crazy vividly. I remember one house had like an unfinished basement. They were still building it. They had like a bridge upstairs, which, by the way, I hate that. You got this big ass house and you waste all this space on like a 30-foot ceiling for the living room, and you build like a little unsupported bridge from one side of the upstairs to like a bedroom, not even like another side of the upstairs, to like one bedroom. Waste of space. And that was like one of the first houses we looked at. And then we looked at one house that was it was nice. It had like an office in it. It was pretty big. The issue was that it was like in a subdivision that was basically undeveloped. We would have been the only house in the whole lot. And I think it was also just a little out of their price range. If I have to be honest, I wonder if they would say this if I asked them, but I almost feel like they didn't ask, or they didn't want that house because they realized that over the course of like a decade of living there, non-stop construction noises. Non-stop. I revisited that neighborhood when I was about, I think I was maybe 19 or 20. I was going on a walk, and the neighborhood was like literally right down the road from me. And so I would walk a lot, across the city a lot. And I walked into that subdivision, and the whole thing had been developed. So that's why I think like maybe they chose where they chose, because it would have been, loud construction noises over the course of like 10 years. And so, we didn't choose that one, and then we toured this house that was like a 2-story-ish house. Had a full downstairs, but like the upstairs was like a couple bedrooms and a bathroom, I think. Very small. It was like, you have like the main level, and then like one side of it has like a big window and like the top part of the house and like a roof. So there is like on this side of the house, there's no upstairs. We looked at that one, and then we walked across the street and looked at another 2-story house, which was a 4-bedroom, pretty spacious house. It was like a big cube, but it was big. Like it had a big open floor plan on the bottom floor, with like a half bath, and then had 4 bedrooms upstairs. So it was like a master with a bathroom, and then like boom, 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 3 bedrooms, and like a bathroom in between 2 of them. And if you're wondering why I remember that one so vividly, it's because that's the one we chose. I believe it was like the last one we looked at on the lot. Like, on the lot, like it's a car. That was like the last one we looked at in our lineup. I think it came down to those 2 homes across the street from each other, and we chose the orange one that we ended up moving into. So from about 2013, I was just about to turn 11 years old until 2025. I lived in that house. And you can actually see the evolution of my living space if you like look at my YouTube videos. I started making videos while living in that house. Like we had only been there for a couple months, and you can kind of see my room evolve, and yeah, like my podcast started in that house. I used to stream from there, record this podcast from there, and my room. So when I was 15, I think so. Yeah, 15. I asked my parents. I was like, "Hey, I want to. I can actually move around now because I'm not on a fucking fake green screen." That's how you know this is real. There you go. That's how you know this is actually real now. Um, I asked my parents. I was like, "Hey, I've been watching a lot of gaming YouTubers who had like gaming houses, and throat keeps getting super dry. They had like gaming houses and all this extra space. And I just kind of idolized this kind of idea. Like Merc Music had a really cool setup at the time. And he had like a dedicated like gaming and office space. And I thought that was so cool. And it's just me and my sister, so the whistle. Just me and my sister. So you can do the math and figure out that the third bedroom was unoccupied. And so I was like, "Oh, I'll sleep in there. If y'all will allow me to take the bed out of my room and turn it into like a gaming room, or what I would call like my office." And they were like, "I guess." Like, "Fine. I guess you can do that." And so they let me do it. I have like photos at the time of us like dismantling my bed, and me filling it in with like desk space and all this stuff. It was a cool setup. It was very similar. The first setup I did of it, it was very similar to my final setup that I had. I believe with just some small tweaks. So like old recordings of me in that room look very similar to the way that it looked, by the time 2020 rolled around. And that room was so cool. You don't realize what you have until you lose it. And I knew what I had the whole time I had it. And when I lost it, I was devastated. It's the room that if you go back and watch old episodes, it's this one. I tried to find like screenshots of me in the room and everything. Like here's the recliner I had, and the couch, and the ottoman, and we had like my TV in there and all my gaming consoles and all that stuff. And like a little kitchen area in the corner. And look, you can see the skull right there. Yeah, see? Wow. Crazy, right? Wow, look at that. That's just a mini PC that's sitting right underneath them, too. This TV ended up getting tossed out, and I actually wish I had just given this to somebody instead. A lot of the TVs in this room got tossed out. Like, I still have the CRT. I mean, you can see it right behind me. But that little TV, I wish I had kept it. Or, like, given it to somebody. But yeah, this whole room was kind of inspired by, like WALL-E. You look at WALL-E's house, where he like has the rotating shelves of just junk. I had so much stuff, that was kind of like the running joke. Is like, oh, like Dane's a hoarder, which I'm not, but at first glance you would think so. It's just because I had so much good crap. But there was a lot of useful stuff in there too. Like I had computer parts in there. I had like equipment in there. Like anything you needed, I pretty much had. And yeah, this room was sick. This was like my dream room. And yeah, I mean, in 2020, I set it up the way I liked. I had like posters all over the walls, and like a tapestries all over the place. Maybe someday I'll edit together the footage I filmed of this room like months before I moved out, because I did like a setup tour knowing that my days of this room existing the way it did were limited. And I don't like how I commentated over it. I should have just filmed the room and did a voiceover. So maybe I'll take that footage and just voice it over at some point. As kind of like here's like a time capsule of what my room looked like. But in 2020, where should I start this part? In 2021. And this is probably the part of the story that no one in my family wants me to publicly tell. But it's been so long at this point, I should tell it. In 2021, my mother moved out. And this is a part of my life I don't talk about very much. And I still have a great relationship with my mom. This isn't her fault. This is just like a pivotal moment in the timeline that changed everything. Like, this action had like crazy levels of like future altering consequences. And that's not her fault. It's the fault of the man that I lived with, my dad, who didn't take it very well. And so in like late 2022, and I should preface saying that he has a drinking problem. And so, he would like regularly drink and stuff. And in 2022, one day I'm like in the laundry room talking to him. And I just hear this like dripping, it's intermittent like dripping. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what could that possibly be? And I go downstairs in the living room, or not the living room, the dining room. There's like this big bulging piece of the ceiling, like literally on the verge of caving in. Let me see if I have the photos, because I'll show the photos. Let's see. Photos. It's in my Google Drive somewhere. Where would I have put those? Let's see. I don't know where I necessarily would have put them. Let's see. I know I have them somewhere. But the ceiling was like caving in. And I mean, that was a big deal at the time. I mean, literally the ceiling was like caving in. And where would this even be? House leak. There we go. I can't believe this was 2022. So, yeah, like the ceiling was caving in. It was soaking wet. And I shouldn't say caving in. The ceiling was literally bulging out, about to dump water everywhere. And yeah, I mean, that this was like a big moment, because from here on out, things were getting worse. So, you would think like, oh, file an insurance claim, get it all figured out. Yeah, like, look, this is when it was like getting worse. You can see it like dripping water. I mean, it was really bad. You would think like, oh, like file an insurance claim and get the money for it, and then repair the leak. Some drywall work. Oh shit, yeah, here's the garage on the other side of the wall. I mean, damn, bro. Damn. That's what you would think you would do. And we had a guy come out, and when I say this guy looked at it, I mean, he literally glanced at it, cut a fucking giant hole in our wall, glanced at it, and then left. Like, tore our whole shower apart, and then just went, I don't know what it is, I'll be back another time. They were, like, livid when I told them that I found out what was wrong. What had happened was that the water heater had disconnected from the overall system and was blasting heat exhaust onto a PVC pipe, which happened to be the outtake pipe for the entire upstairs minus the bathtub. That was in my master bedroom. Like, my entire bathroom ran through this part of the ceiling into here, through like another pipe and into the fucking, like, into the thing, the outtake. So, like, you flush the toilet, what do you think comes out of that pipe? You take a shower, it starts flooding the dining room. Hello, weird car. The sinks, however, were slower. The sinks didn't send as much water through the pipes as you would think, surprisingly. So it was kind of safe to use the sinks. Well, I go up in there. He had basically gutted the whole ceiling at this point. That's like the first initial stage. This is what it ended up looking like by the time that he was done. Like, going through all of it. I think he also ended up pulling this out of the wall too. But like, to where I could literally walk through it into the garage. But yeah, I mean, they like tore this whole thing apart. I think this is really funny, the seal hole thing written on the wall, and they just like fucking attached like a 2x4 block to the wall over here. But that's what they had done, and they left it that way. They didn't even diagnose the issue. Oh yeah, here's it at night with all the fans and everything. So where am I going with this? Essentially, this never got fixed. Oh yeah, here's the affected area. There's the pipe, like there's the vent, there's the piece it came off of, and there's the pipe that it was slowly destroying. He never fixed it. That's another pivotal moment in the timeline. So I fixed it. I took flex tape, wrapped it around the pipe, and it held for like a year. And God, my throat's getting so dry. So I flex taped it. That held for like a year. I was planning on honestly just replacing that piece of the pipe anyways with like shark bites and stuff like that. Not realizing like that's a really dangerous thing to try to do on your own. But I didn't know. I mean, I was young. I was only 20 when this originally happened. And so early 2024. Here's where the story really gets going. My father loses his job. And as you would expect, starts heavily drinking. Well, then a month in, the pipe burst again. So my flex tape fails after like a year. I think it got like backed up or something. And so it was just too much pressure for the tape. And it burst the tape. But you would think a reasonable human being would have replaced it at this point. So that burst, and so it's like March, and it was like late March, and you can see it. At the time, I had just started doing like a Minecraft modded survival series on live stream, and in one of the episodes, it's like episode like 4 or 5. You can hear me talk about the fact that the house smells horrible and that all the plumbing just decided to go out all of a sudden. I'm pretty sure this doc that I use for the podcast includes like the very first episode that I started documenting on this one is the episode that I last recorded before the pipe went out. Like quite literally the last one. that I recorded, but like right before the pipe went out. And so I had to basically stop being at my house. I had to move all my clothing to my girlfriend's house. I couldn't do laundry anymore. I couldn't shower anymore at my house. And for like probably 9 months, I was like in and out. Like I'd be here and then I would be at my house to record this podcast. And I'd be there for like, you know, all of Thursday or Friday night, record it, edit it, upload it. And you can see it in my face. You can like really see it in my face. I look more tired. I think if you look at the first episode from 2024 versus the first episode from 2025, you can really see the difference in my face, where I just look exhausted. And it only got worse from there. So you know, from like probably starting in December 2024, I had just totally stopped coming over to my house other than to record this podcast or to live stream. And you know, I think I like went on a trip to North Carolina for a wedding. And the like the day before we were set to leave was the last time I ever slept in my house. So like beginning of December 2024 was the last time I ever slept in my own bed. And that meant I was away from my house completely. I had essentially stopped coming over to check on my dad, who at this point had been like burrowing inside the couch and just watching television all the time, like just wasting away. I know he would hate to hear me say it like that, but that's the truth. I think he would acknowledge that that was the truth. And you know, it'd become a common occurrence where I would, you know, we would text him, he just wouldn't answer for like a day or two. And occasionally my mom would get worried because she was trying to like fix the house. I mean, their names were both still on it. So she was trying to like get the house fixed, trying to get contractors over. He would just be like dead asleep on the couch while they're knocking on the door. And it was like a common occurrence to have me or my sister go over there and check on him. And so, but because I was away, I didn't notice what was going on as much as I should have. And I think things got worse when I stopped coming over. So it's, I believe, January 13th, 2025. I could probably figure this out by looking at this, because this is when I stopped making episodes for like 2 weeks. Yeah, January 13th, 2025. It was a Monday. And I had gone to the gym after work. And, you know, I was on the treadmill. My mom called me. She was like, your father's not answering the phone. There's a plumber at the house. And I was arguing back. I was like, look, I'm in the middle. I just started my treadmill workout. You know, I had a pretty good routine going at the time. And I had a full-time job that demanded my attention. And, you know, I was really trying hard to not let him control or dictate my life. You know, and I was tired of it. I was like tired of him doing things that were preventing me from doing the things I want to do. And although that sounds selfish, you have to think about it. Up to this point, so much has happened. So much I've sacrificed so much for him up to that point. I don't even know if I'd call it sacrifice. I've just gone through so much with him up to that point that I was sick of it. I was over it. Yeah, I want to be a little humble. I don't want to call it a sacrifice. But I was arguing with her. I was like, look, I can't just up and leave the gym and go back to my house just to check on him. Granted, it wasn't even that long of a drive. This tells you where my mind was at the time. It was like a 4-minute drive. You know, every time this happened and I had to go check on him, my heart rate would spike, my anxiety would go crazy, and I'd be like, this motherfucker's dead. Every time. And that's another factor in it as to why I was so fed up, is because every time I had to go check on him, I had that constant anxiety of my dad killed himself, or he died of alcohol poisoning or something. And so I go to my house and the plumber's waiting outside, and I'm like, hey man, I'm sorry. Yeah, I finally begrudgingly gone back to my house to do this. Like, hey man, I'm sorry. So I unlocked the door, I let him in, let him do his thing. I think he was just there to get like a quote or something. He wasn't even there to fix the pipe. By the way, the pipe we were just talking about, that's what he was there to fix. I think he was just there to get a quote. And he quoted us like this crazy ass amount. But I'm like walking around the house. I'm like, I can't find him. He couldn't have gone anywhere. His phone was there, it was on the charger. I'm walking around everywhere. I'm going upstairs, looking in the bedroom. I looked in the living room on the couch. I was walking all over the place, and I call my mom. I go back outside. I call my mom. I'm like, I can't find him. Did he like go on a walk and just not take his phone? I was like, I literally can't find him. I don't know where he went. And she's like, well, I don't know. I mean, just call me back when you find out something. I was like, all right. So I go back inside, and I'm just gonna. My plan was just I'm just gonna sit on the living room couch and wait it out. You know, see what happens. If he pops up, maybe he's like in the bathroom or something, and I just don't know it. Maybe I just didn't check hard enough. And so, you know, I'm walking to the living room, and I sit on the couch, or I'm about to. I don't even think I sat down. I'm like about to sit down. And I look at the floor. I hadn't fully gone into the living room. I had just kind of walked up to the back of the couch and peeked over it and went, all right, he's not in here. But I hadn't fully gone into the living room. And I walk in there around the couch, and there he is on the floor. I was like, what the fuck? This isn't the first time, by the way. Let me just tell you, this isn't the first time I had found him sleeping on the floor. He had immense back problems. His bed was uncomfortable. The couch was uncomfortable. So sometimes he would just end up on the floor and sleeping on the floor with like a sleeping bag and some blankets wrapped around him. And I walk up to him, and I'm like, I'm pissed. And I like grab him, and I'm like shaking him. I'm like, come on, man. Like, what the fuck? I'm pissed. This is the first time I've like really drilled into him. And he opens his eyes, and they're like wide. Like wide. And he looks like horrified. He's like shaking his head like this. He's like, what? 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 Like that. And I like stepped back for a second. I was like, whoa. I mean, his eyes were like sunken in. His face was just like no body fat on his face. He looked like just a skull with skin wrapped around it. You could like see his cheekbones, if I remember correctly. Granted, they were kind of hidden by the giant unkempt beard. But I mean, he was like, huh? What? And I was like, I was so blinded by anger that I just kept like lecturing him, obviously kind of quietly so the plumber couldn't hear me. And it took me probably like 5 minutes before I was like, oh my God, this man has no idea what I'm saying. He's like so far gone. He kept like saying what to me like he couldn't hear me. He kept just like staring at me with this crazed look on his face. Um, and yeah, like after 5 minutes, I was like, whoa. Like it really set in like just how gaunt he looked, how skinny he looked. And my sister had been telling us for the few weeks leading up to that, you know, how horrible he looked, how he looked like he hadn't been eating, and how he was drinking a lot. But I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, I was literally like, I've literally been away for a little over a month. How is it possible that this much has happened? And I go outside and I call his sister, my aunt. And I was like, you know, I felt like a little boy again. Because you would think being 23 years old, or 22 at the time, you would think being a 22-year-old, you can handle that. Like, you know, somebody's in a crisis, you can handle getting them an ambulance and saving the day. But what do you do when you get home and you see your father laying on the floor, like emaciated, just looking the worst he's ever looked, in the worst condition you've ever seen him? And I didn't know what to do, if I'm being honest. That was the first person I thought to call, was his sister. She's the only one of his siblings that lived in our area. And I was like, this is the only person I can think to call. So I called her, she didn't pick up. I called her again, and I guess that's when she was like, oh shit, he never calls me, for one. 2 calls back to back. Okay. So she picks up, and I'm like rattling stuff off to her, and she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So she comes over, and I'm like, I'm in there with him, and I was like, dude, I don't know what to do. I keep like asking him questions he doesn't know what I'm even saying, let alone the questions. And my aunt gets there, and I was like, look, I have to go pick up my girlfriend from the gym. I basically left her there. I have to get her home. Please keep me up to date. And I wanted her to drive him to the hospital. She ended up calling an ambulance, which I found out through a friend of mine who lived next door to me, being like, hey man, are you all right? And I was like, what? She says, yeah, there's an ambulance outside your house. I was like, I didn't know that. But yeah, she called him an ambulance. Apparently he like aspirated on the way there, because after work the next day, I rushed to the ER to go see him, and I guess he had aspirated, so they had him on like a breathing tube and all this crazy looking shit hooked up to him. And yeah, I mean, you know, that was the first day, and then I came back the next day, and they moved him up to like a ICU room, and then, you know, he was still hooked up to all this stuff, and he kept trying to like rip his stuff out. And during all these visits, he like barely knew where he was, barely knew who I was, but could still like tell who I was. He still like knew my name and what I was to him, but that was about it. He thought like, you know, cousins of his that he hadn't seen in like 30 years were there visiting him. He thought his best friend was visiting him, which is so tragic, because his best friend died 2 weeks earlier. So I knew there was no way. And I obviously wouldn't have told anybody where he was. Especially if he's dead. If you watch episode 101, the one about Jimmy Carter being dead, at the end of that episode, I talk about my godfather dying, and I start crying. Ugh, get a load of this guy. But That's the best friend in question. So that gives you kind of a sense of like a timeline. And it was rough. That's probably one of the roughest 3-week long periods of just going to and from the hospital like every other day. And seeing my dad in just this like horrible state. Because I mean, what do you do? This is a philosophical question that you should think about. What do you do when your father gets wet brain from alcohol consumption? He drank so much he gave himself essentially what's known as alcoholic dementia. What do you do at that point? Do you still get mad at the you still get mad at the man that was making your life hell before? Even though it's the same guy, mentally it's not. This guy doesn't know what he did. He doesn't remember much of anything from the last from the year leading up to that. So all the stuff he did, he doesn't remember. But because of this happening to him, I had to move. I had to leave. In that 2-week span, I packed all my stuff up. And here, trigger warning, because here's a picture of the living room where we found him. This is after we took all the furniture out, but that big stain on the floor is from where he threw up while sleeping on the floor the night that I found him. I mean, it legit looked like somebody died in the living room. It was disgusting. Excuse me. But yeah, I had to move. I had to pack up all my things, and I pretty much moved into here, where I am right now. This garage. It's not the most ideal. There's a lot of downsides to this. Here, I'll show you a little fact for the week. This is what it looked like when I first moved in. I still hadn't moved everything. So that obviously wasn't ideal. But, I've continued living my life. Look, you can see how fucking tired I am, man. I continued living my life. So for the first time, I will be moving of my own accord into a space that I choose. That's the plan. Clearly, there's no turning back now. I mean, look at all the boxes. Look, games. I can't just unpack those now. I'm locked in, baby. So, sometime in probably June, I will be, sometime in June. Hold on, I'm about to go away for a second. So sometime in June, I will be moving. So either a week will. Here we go. Yeah, nice. Bird noises. I don't know what that was supposed to fucking be. I will be either taking a week off or here we go. Yeah, my old office but empty. I'll either take a week off or I will keep recording this podcast. Maybe I'll do it on my laptop if I have time. But there will probably be a week here where I have to skip a day. So please do not crucify me. So yeah. Anywho, that's what I plan to do. I plan on moving. I know it came with like a really traumatic story before him, but I wanted to tell that story at some point in my life, and I felt like a video about moving to a new home felt like an appropriate time to tell such a story. Dude, this green screen effect is god awful. Look how it's like doming my hair. Bro, stop. Jesus, NVIDIA. Ass. Video broadcast, get your shit together. Are there any other cool places I can send myself? Let's see. I got any cool backgrounds? Oh, here we go. Let's see. No, not the seasonal ones. Let's see. Channel backgrounds. Raw photos. There we go. There we go. Here, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. Oh, wow. Did it not add it? I don't think it added it. Damn, it never added it. What the hell? Add it. What the hell? Why is it not adding it? This is such a stupid thing to do during an episode, but here, take a little snippet of this and then save it. And then we will choose that as our file. Where is it? There it is. Ooh, wow. Ooh la la. Holy crap. Look at that. We're in the botanical gardens at Callaway Gardens. Wow. What if I just did this? Like, the more stuff I pack up in the background, I just start using these backgrounds. That'd be kind of cool. All right. Well, if you want to support this podcast, if you want to help fund my moving adventures, you can go buy some merch. Look at that. Wow. So cool. Merch, folks. These cool shorts and this cool t-shirt with the radio design on it for Forbidden FM. Shorts with the Forbidden FM logo on it too. Wow. I'm sure these are really comfortable. I actually might buy a pair of these. I don't know what color I would get. Maybe this one? Either this one or this one I might get. But I want to get a pair of these and try them out. I do have one of the shirts that I've worn before. Maybe I'll get a pair of these and see if they're comfortable. If they're not, I'll remove them. I have no shame. I don't care. If they're not comfortable, I'm not going to ask you to buy them. So. And then the April Fool's Nightly Morning News shirt. Which Nightly Morning News could always make a comeback in like a future skit or something. April Fool's joke, maybe. So go buy that. Go to the merch store. Go buy it, please. Fund my operation. You can also go to patreon.com/forbiddenlandpod. And you can subscribe there if you want to support us that way. If you want to listen to the audio version of this podcast, you can go to Apple Podcast or your Samsung fridge. So I'm getting my stand goal notification that I need to stand. So we'll do this closing remarks standing up. So yes, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode where I talk about the deadly cruise ship hantavirus, COVID-2, rate my shave, 1 through 10, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace. I don't even think that thing worked. Bruh. Damn.